In this lab, you are going to choose 3 materials to make a mixture. Make sure you choose 1 from box A, 1 from box B, and 1 from box C. In this example, you're going to see sugar, dirt, and pebbles.
Remember, it's a mixture, so don't forget to mix it up. Just don't get too exuberant and send the parts flying out of your container. You don't want to lose any of them. If you're finding that using a plate is not very good for this, notice I've substituted a glass baking pan. A few other ideas, maybe a bucket or some sort of container out of your recycling. All of those could work pretty well.
At the end of each part, we ask you to take a clear picture. When you take your picture, please make sure it's in focus, that the material you're taking a photo of fills most of the picture, and that it's bright enough to actually see the materials.
Part 2, separate by size. So you might take a look at your mixture and think, can I just pick these out by hand? The answer is no. Are you able to? Yes. But we want to keep in mind that a lot of mixtures you might work with at some point are not made of things we want to touch with our hands. So we want to start to practice these techniques in a way that works for any substances. So we're asking you to use a tool. The 2 tools that we suggested are tweezers and chopsticks. So if you have tweezers and they seem to work for your largest components, that's great, go ahead and use them. If they work for some but not others, then come up with a second tool. Similarly for chopsticks, if you're proficient with them and can remove the largest pieces without getting the other components of the mixture, then that's great. You can use a mix of the 2. You can also come up with another tool that performs similarly or better for you. That's a great exercise to try to think of other tools that might perform the same job. In the end, you want to remove every piece of your largest component. Notice that I'm putting them all into a cup to keep them in one place. Part 3, separate by size and solubility. So to start the next step, I've got my jar of water and I have my mixture with 2 things remaining in it. We want to transfer or pour everything from our mixture into the water. If that looks like you're just going to send it all over the table, you might want to just do the transfer or do a lot of it with a spoon and then maybe finish up the last little bits by pouring. So I have a jar of water with my 2-component mixture in it. I want to mix it up really well, and we ask you to give some amount of time. Hopefully going into this, you know or strongly suspect which of those 2 components is going to dissolve. So the way to decide how long to wait before you filter is really by looking at it after it's stirred and settles, and see if you can see any evidence of the component that's supposed to dissolve not yet dissolved. If that's the case, you want to give it more stirring and more time. So 10 minutes have passed and I want to know whether my mixture is ready for filtering. So I'm going to look very closely, noticing that it's pretty settled. It's not moving. The middle part of the liquid is fairly free of the solids. There are a bunch of solids sitting on the bottom. There's some sitting on the top. I do not see the component that I expected to dissolve sitting there in solid form. So if that's the case, I'm going to conclude it's dissolved for long enough and I can move on to filtering. Time for filtering. So one way to go about this, as we mentioned, is with a coffee filter. And if you have something like this that supports the coffee filter and is set up neatly to sit on top of a cup or some other container, that's probably your easiest bet, okay? If you don't have that, I want to help you think about how you can make something like that. So we told you in place of a coffee filter, you could use a paper towel, and most people have these at home. In place of the black holder, we're going to use a paper cup. And I'm going to put a hole with a dowel right in the middle of the bottom. I could use it over a jar like this. Ideally, if I have something I can set it in that it's big enough that it rests at the top without my using my hands, that's perfect. So we're going to get the filter ready. Take your paper towel, you're going to fold it in half in one direction, and then you're going to fold it in half in the other direction. Okay, so right now I've got 4 layers overlapping. Then I'm going to keeping it folded, I'm going to peel one layer away. And if you go down into the most folded corner, you notice that you actually have something a lot like what's going on with the coffee filter. Okay, so I'm going to carefully set that with that opening inside my paper cup. And I don't want to set it so far down that the edges of the paper towel get below the rim of the cup. So now I want to make sure that the part where that filter is open, there's no actual hole at the bottom. There's a fold, but it's completely enclosed. Otherwise, I'm going to have a problem. And I'm going to hold that over my other cup to receive my liquid. And always before I start pouring, I want to mix my liquid and solid mixture really well. Otherwise, it's all going to get left behind. And I'm going to pour some in and hope this works. And I can hear, I don't know if you can hear, I can hear the liquid coming through. And what I should be seeing, I am in fact seeing, which is that my dark solid substance is on top of that paper towel. So that was a successful start to the filtering with the alternative setup of the paper towel. If you start that and it's working well, you want to continue. Remember, do a little bit at a time. If you overflow the paper towel, then the stuff that you're trying to catch on top of the paper towel is going to go under it. Remember, each time, mix it up well and pour in just a little bit at a time. Let it filter and then repeat. If you tried it the first time and it's not going well, you probably still have plenty of your mixture that you could make a new filter, make a new setup, and start over. You could always test your setup just with plain water first time around and see how that's working for you. If you are successful, you're going to see the dark component of your mixture on your paper towel and liquid that looks just like plain water in your bottom cup that's receiving it. Good luck. This is probably the trickiest step, but it's also the most rewarding when you're successful.